What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another video. Now, this might be something that a lot of you aren't expecting because this channel is mostly about gaming content. However, I am secretly a huge football nerd, so much so that I actually spend quite a bit of my free time not gaming or not watching gaming videos, watching NFL things or reading about the NFL or keeping up with it. Um, and things like that. And I thought, man, you know what would be kind of fun to do is something that I already do with my fantasy group, and that is weekly pick'ems. This is something that maybe you care, maybe you don't, but I like seeing other people's ideas of who's going to win what game for what reason and things like that. Like I said, I already do this on my fantasy league. We have a channel dedicated just for who's going to win during the week, but maybe I'll be consistent with those and maybe I won't. I am starting this week a little late, as you can see if I scroll over here for a second. The Green Bay game already started. Now, I did pick Green Bay to win because I think Green Bay is going to be a very, very good team this season. Hopefully not the best, but they seem like so far, based off their first two games, that they might be the best. But we're just going to kind of go through this. And again, this is just for fun. There's no betting sponsor or anything like that. I don't sports bet. This is purely for entertainment and fun. And yeah, to see how well do we know ball. Now, the first game right here, Cleveland at Baltimore. There's a lot of talk about this game. Both are owned one. Baltimore came off that last quarter collapse against Buffalo. Well, Cleveland just kind of imploded on themselves. Now, I don't think Cleveland is actually a bad team. I don't think they've been a bad team the last couple of years. I think they've just been mismanaged, and I think that they make silly mistakes a lot, both at the front office and with the players. Well, the coaching, I should say, but sometimes the players too. But that being said, I think the obvious choice is Baltimore. I can't imagine a world where Baltimore is going to go 0-2 to start the season, especially after looking so good last Sunday night. And I do think that that was more Buffalo being really good rather than Baltimore being bad, if that makes sense. But stranger things have happened. But my pick is Baltimore. Now Jacksonville and Cincinnati. I have Joe Burrow on my fantasy team, and I actually pulled up right over here. This is my league that I am in. With some of them are my buddies, others are people that I can maybe call buddies. Um, but it's a league that I've been part of for a couple of years now. And here's my team. I have Joe Burrow as my quarterback, J.K. Dobbins running back, Davon. I don't know how to say his last name. Actually, I'm not a Dolphins fan, and we'll get to them. Stephon Diggs, Rashid Shaheed, Old Fergie time, Javante Williams, and then my bench, Sam Darnold, Jaden Blue, which we'll see about Blue, Najee Harris, Keon Coleman, which I really should have started last week, and then we have Xavier Worthy, who unfortunately got injured, and then we have the GOAT of all time, Brandon Aubrey, as kicker, um, and then the Broncos defense, which is probably the best defense, if not definitely top five. Anyways, uh, after all that, Jacksonville's going to win this game. I just don't have a good feeling about Cincinnati. The Browns were literally handing them the game all of that game last week, and Cincinnati still barely just won. Joe Burrow didn't look great. I think he will be great as the season progresses, but there's a reason that the Bengals have had a slow start for a while now. So my money, my imaginary money, is on Jacksonville. Dallas Giants, Dallas. Um, and I did pick the Cowboys to beat the Eagles, and we can say drop here, drop there. At the end of the day, it's either they won or they lost. They lost, but I do think that Dallas is a lot better than a lot of people are saying. I am a Cowboys fan, unfortunately, and I say unfortunately because I know nothing but pain my whole life. I've always equated it to being a Dallas fan my whole life. Might as well be the same as being a Browns fan my whole life because both have won the same amount my whole life. Granted, the Cowboys have won their division a few more times and things like that, but still, when it comes to actual like championships, conference stuff, things like that, Dallas hasn't won anything. But I do think they will win this game against Giants. The Giants look awful. Russell Wilson, hey, look, there he is right there. Uh, he was washed in Denver. He was very washed in Pittsburgh. I don't know why he's still playing. I don't. Chicago and Detroit. I think Detroit's fake. I think Detroit had all the correct components last season That is with coordinators, that is with players, that is with culture, that is with it being our time. They remind me a lot of the 49ers, actually, when the 49ers went to the Super Bowl, where everything was in place and everything was going well and they're being really good. Now, obviously, Detroit was a lot more dominant than I think the 49ers were, if I recall. However, this is, for lack of a better term, their Super Bowl slump, or Super Bowl hangover. And I know Detroit didn't go to the Super Bowl, but the constant high they were riding all last season, only for it to end the way that it did, I think does have a psychological effect. And I do think the changes in coaching have an effect. So my confidence in Detroit is just not there. I don't think they're going to be a terrible team by any means, but I think Chicago showed a lot more promise their last game. I think the Vikings are a very good team, even with their rookie quarterback. Uh, and I think the Bears, kind of like the Browns, just found a way to lose. And I guess we'll see this week if that's just going to be a continuation. Are they going to keep finding a way to lose, or are they going to actually live up to their potential? I could see the NFC North not being dominant or not being competitive at all because Green Bay is going to run away with it. But I do think those bottom three, the Vikings, Detroit, and Chicago, it'd definitely be very close between those three. Miami and New England. I don't know if the Dolphins are a real football team anymore. And it's not just one game. It's their culture. It's their coaching being one dimensional. It's everything. Their practice, apparently, they're soft at practice. Um, and I don't think New England's. I think New England has a lot to prove, and that first game, a lot of lessons were learned, and yeah, I think New England's going to win this one. San Francisco and the New Orleans Saints. Well, San Francisco, half their team is on IR, uh, and New Orleans actually looked better than I thought against the Cardinals last week. So I'm going to pick the Saints just to be crazy. Just that's a wild card one. I also, Cowboys fan. I don't like the 49ers. Um, but I do think injuries really, really matter. Uh, and I think the Saints aren't going to be as bad as everyone thinks. I believe in Kellen Moore. That's his name, right? Kellen Moore. I don't know. He was offensive coordinator for the Cowboys for a while, and then he went to Philly, and now he's down as the head coach in New Orleans. And I believe in him a little bit. Buffalo against the Jets. Upset of the week. Jets win. Watch it. Jets win. Jets defense looked very good against Pittsburgh, and I know Pittsburgh dropped like 30 points, but there were lots of flashes of brilliance. The Jets offense looked very good. And I think Buffalo is they just played a playoff game, but it's week 2. And don't ask me why that matters. It matters. Jets beat Buffalo. It's also in New Jersey, so, Seattle and Pittsburgh. I want to say Seattle. I really do. I think Sam Darnold isn't bad. I don't think last year was a fluke. I do think they didn't play great against San Francisco last week, but that was a division game in week 1 and all that stuff. I also don't believe in Aaron Rodgers at all. I know I just said how good the Jets defense is. The smart choice is Pittsburgh. The fun choice is Seattle. And we like to have fun here because we're not betting any money. So I'm going to go with Seattle. Tennessee and LA. Dude, Tennessee's going to be a dark horse. You watch it. But not this game. LA's going to win. Carolina and Arizona. Oh, Carolina. Oh, Carolina. I want to believe so badly. Bryce Young, I want to believe in you. But my man is too busy checking out the the scoreboard and the little hide the hat game instead of paying attention to the game. I'm not actually dogging him hard for that. I actually think Carolina's going to make this a competitive game. Arizona looked like a mess last week. Carolina, it was circumstantial, you could say. I think Jacksonville is a lot better than people were writing them off to be because Jacksonville Also, I've been plagued with a lot of unfortunate events the last few years. I'll go with Carolina because again, we have fun here. Now, this game might be the game of the week. Two dark horse contenders for the AFC. Two teams that a couple years ago were written off as some of the worst teams in the league, between the Colts and the Broncos. And now, well, Bo Nix did not look good, but Denver looked good. And then the Colts, Danny Dimes. As a Cowboys fan, we saw him twice a year when he wasn't injured, and I've always been on the side that you cannot, unless their name is Russell Wilson, you cannot judge a quarterback's play on the New York Giants because the New York Giants are a terrible team. They're just awful. I used to say Eli Manning isn't that good. I've actually come around. Eli Manning might be one of the best quarterbacks in the world since he won 2 Super Bowls with that terrible franchise. Uh, and I know that they had won before that, but I'm talking modern Giants the last 20 years. Because the second he had left, it's the last few years that he was there too. Um, anyways, I believe in the Colts. I think they're going to win this, even though I have the Broncos on my fantasy team, their defense. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game because Bo Nix definitely isn't going to do a lot. And then I think Denver's defense is going to be kind of a wake-up call to the Colts. I think the Colts win this one. Philly and the Chiefs. I hate those birds so much. But Philly's going to win this for sure. And in my league I picked the Chiefs to win, but they seem so dysfunctional, and I know that in prior times they still find ways to win. I believe more in Phil, and I believe more Philly's gonna win. That's it. Atlanta, Minnesota. My money's on Atlanta. I don't believe in JJ McCarthy. I think he's not real. And this might contradict my Sam Darnold thing, but Sam Darnold looked better than JJ McCarthy in that same team. So, 2 more. LA's going to beat Las Vegas. Las Vegas isn't good. And then Tampa, Houston. Houston is a fake team too. So Tampa's going to win. Anyways, those are my picks for the week. Again, this is just for fun. Just want to share my mind a little bit, share what I think and what I believe is going to happen. Now, I usually do terrible, so if you want to use this as like a guidance tool, do the opposite of everything I said, and you'll probably do great. But yeah, those are my picks. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll probably do this every week if I find the time. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later. Goodbye.